Okay, the second book which I want to talk about in this spotlight session on Byron is another first edition. This is The Last Days of Lord Byron, with his lordship's opinions on various subjects, particularly on the state and prospect of Greece, by William Parry, published in 1825, so just shortly after Byron's death. Now, William Parry was an interesting character. He was born in 1773, and we don't know an awful lot about his early life, but he was a firemaster and a clerk in the Department of Ordnance. He had a naval background. He came to prominence in 1823 when he was employed by Thomas Gordon of Cairness to devise a plan to supply artillery for the fighters of Greek independence. So this again is harking round to the Greek fight for independence from the Ottoman Empire, which Byron was involved in the last year of his life as well. So in 1824, the London Greek Committee sent William Parry to Missolonghi with just a few men in order to try and implement his plan for getting artillery to the Greek freedom fighters. However, unfortunately, a lack of money and men meant that the artillery factory that he tried to set up was never terribly successful. While he was in Missolonghi, though, he became the friend and confidant of Byron, who was also there. Byron seems to have admired Parry to a certain extent. At the very least, he promoted Parry to the rank of major within the brigade that he put together in order to undertake his planned attack on Lepanto. Anyway, because of his association with Byron and also his involvement within the London Greek Committee, Parry became embroiled in the politics of the London Greek Committee, and particularly in Byron's disagreements with Colonel Lester Stanhope over the distribution of resources for the Greek cause. Parry was also with Byron in his last days. He nursed Byron during his last illness. But after Byron's death, Parry was criticised publicly by Stanhope and others and portrayed as an illiterate bore and a drunkard. So in April 25, he published this book in order to defend himself, as well as to commemorate Byron and to state Byron's ideas and opinions on the politics of the Greek independence cause. Now, in 1826, Parry had cause to sue for damages in a libel case, due to the aspersions that had been cast against him in the period just after Byron's death. Now, during the course of the libel case, it came out that this particular book was written with the assistance of a well-known political economist, Thomas Hodgkin. So this wasn't actually written entirely on Parry's own. And this, of course, damaged his reputation even further. He did win the libel case, but he was only awarded a small sum. And the things that were said at the trial damaged his reputation and made the last years of his life very difficult. In fact, he spent his last 17 years in an asylum. So this book was published by Parry. It gives his thoughts and his opinions about Byron. It's an interesting history and personal account of Byron in the last months of his life. It's part of a number of works that were published in that immediate period after Byron's death, when particularly people who had known Byron or who claimed to have known Byron, were publishing accounts to great commercial success of the things that they knew about Byron. So the book starts with a brief history of Byron and the Greek struggle, so the last few months of Byron's life. It then provides a character of Lord Byron through various anecdotes, both from Parry's own experience and from others, and ends with a few chapters of a very vehement attack on Stanhope and on the politics of the London Greek Committee, as well as the politics of the factions within Greece. So, this particular copy of the book is part of our biography collection in Bromley House. It's CA2153. And here's the frontispiece. So you can see Last Days of Lord Byron. It's mainly text, but it does include illustrations and colour plates as well. So this is the illustration on the frontispiece. There's Byron there with a very nice large dog. And it also includes, as I say, colour illustrations, such as this one, showing Byron on his deathbed with Parry, his faithful attendant. You'll notice that the colour plates have a stamp on them, NSL for Nottingham Subscription Library, obviously Bromley House. This was a security measure to make it more difficult if people were to cut the plates out of a book and try to sell them. It would be more difficult for them to sell because they're stamped with the library from which they were taken. So this is another one of the interesting books, a book that was written just after Byron died and was a description of his life and his legacy in that period that was basically contemporary with him.